Live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. It's time for Middays with Q. Now to your host, Rich Quinones.
Good afternoon, everyone. 12 o'clock straight up on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show, keeping us on the air 2 hours to play with. We'll take up to 2 o'clock straight up right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We are indeed powered by Ion TV, stream produced live via the Coastal Sports Network on this 15th of July, 2024. Get in on the conversation, 727-858-6650. A very busy 2 hours. Hope everyone had a good sports weekend. I mean, obviously, a lot of nonsense occurred over the weekend. But with that being said, I mean, this is kind of the state of affairs where we're at with a country. And again, thoughts and prayers to everything that transpired over the weekend. And then you have, I wanted to, by the way, Lloyd Vance would join us around 12:35-ish. We also, we're on the YouTube channel, Broad Street South, Rich Q on Q. Also on X as well. We'll give you that information momentarily. Don't forget to give us a follow on CSN Florida as well, at CSN Florida. You guys are doing a great job. We're picking up some really good steam with that. We always appreciate it. And of course, you can also capture us at RS1029 The Game. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff live, interactive on X. I guess you can say, AKA back in the day, Twitter, right? But how about last night? You know, we talk about the madness that went on, and then you get this madness that's going on in the world of sport. And it was an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment, what transpired last night. If you think about it, in Copa, it really was. And, you know, we if you grew up playing the sport of soccer, if you love the sport of soccer, you watch it, you have your teams, whether you watch the Copas, whether you watch, Euro, whether you watch, all the different leagues in Central and South America, English League, Premier League, it doesn't matter, right? But last night, we are not hooligans. We're just not hooligans. And last night was an absolute, utter disgrace that transpired last night. I mean, you watch this and you say to yourself, where are we at right now in sports? Where are we at right now? Where you have fans that are pretty much almost rioting. Well, let's call it what it is. They were rioting. They were absolutely rioting last night. They were shoving, pushing, stampede, destruction of property, destroying property in Miami Gardens at Hard Rock Stadium. And it's almost like the game was an afterthought, right? Argentina beating Colombia 1-0. You have a stampede, you have a herd. People acting like a bunch of jackasses over a friggin' soccer game. And I joke when we say hooligans, you used to see this back in the day in the late 70s and the 80s when back in the day, they would always have on the Univision or Telefuturo or Telemundo, they would always have like the local games. Well, I should say the games that were over in, say, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, whatever, Brazil, all over the place. And you'd have like the soccer night. You flip on the channel. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. The great voice of the goal. We all know the Argentinian voice. But you would see how the fans would be so passionate, and all of a sudden it gets almost to the point where you see fire bombs and you see trash and you see destruction, you see people running on the fields. I felt like back in the day, 70s, 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, with the Maradona craze and whatnot. I thought that's what I was watching last night. I mean, when you have people rushing this, just the escalators and destruction of property and the stairs, and then you have a fluid situation going on with the police and security. It's almost like a revolving door. Have you seen the pictures online? It's an absolute disgrace. They tore up the stadium. Now, again, we can sit there and we can blame security issues. We can blame Hard Rock Stadium. We can blame the fact that, they just were not prepared. It was just an unfortunate incident, accident. But what about the fans? What about these idiots? I mean, you got gates locked. You're breaking down gates. You're trying to scroll through vents and elevator shafts. That's a disgrace. mean, you could have had people honestly stampeded to death. They could have been rioted. You could have had people die. You know what happens when you're in a movie theater and some knucklehead yells fire and you see the mass panic? You see how people go absolutely nuts. You see that. And in a soccer game, especially with, the type of fan base, when you get into the Copas, they're so passionate. They want to get in, they want to watch, they want to see, but yet you don't have a ticket. Like, where's the security? Where's order? It's nothing but utter chaos. It's like the theme of what's going on in this freaking country. It's utter chaos. There's literally no order whatsoever. There's no accountability, there's no discipline, there's no patience, there's nothing. And quite frankly, I'm shocked. I really am. I am absolutely shocked that they actually played that game last night. I am shocked that they played that game last night. I would have freaking canceled the game. Sorry. I mean, what kind of job are we doing here if we're the organizers? And you really think the U.S. is ready for the World Cup? The host? Are you kidding? It was a disgrace last night. A flat out disgrace last night. And we want to sit here and make jokes, right? We want to sit here and hooligan this, hooligan. How do you allow that to even occur? How do you allow that to even transpire? How do we allow that to continue? I mean, that game should have been canceled last night. It should have been canceled. And I know, again, I mean, it's a disaster. It was beyond mayhem at the gates. You got ticketed fans from trying to get in. You got, Argentinian fans. You got Colombian fans. You got, Hispanic fans. You got Spanish fans. You got regular soccer fans. Everyone, fisticuffs are flying. People are getting in fights, shoving children, old people. I mean, what? Really? It was a flat out disgrace last night. Flat out disgrace. People should be embarrassed. The organizers shouldn't be embarrassed. Fans should be embarrassed. I don't know how much you want to put it on the security or the lack thereof at Hard Rock Stadium. You guys want to do that? That's fine. Again, it's just, listen. And then we want to now welcome in the world for the World Cup. Really? I mean, how many are confident right now? Right? This is not like the Super Bowl and you're just going into a host city. Who's confident? So you're going to get the West Indies and you're going to get the United States from the 1st to the 29th of June. I'm sorry. Pardon me. I'll get the dates. I apologize. But point being, are because we're obviously in June, July. Do you really think that we're equipped for this? To deal with this? I don't. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, this is last night. See if Angel can pull this up. I'm not seeing it on my vantage point, but if you guys are seeing it, that's fine. But point being is, it's an absolute disgrace what transpired last night. It's a bad look all around. It's embarrassing, and the security was lapse. You're probably going to get multiple of lawsuits. You're going to get a lot of people now. You're going to get people that were going to the hospital, people that were detained, people that were arrested. It's an embarrassment, and it was a disgrace. And again, they should not have played that game last night. They shouldn't have. They should have just said, no, we're not doing it. Not tonight. Tough. Deal with it. You cannot allow fans to act like that. You cannot allow people to act like that at a friggin' sporting event. Like I said, it's bad enough others are looking at this country like we're a friggin' joke. It was like barbaric. It was madness last night. And yet you're getting the stadium destroyed. You're getting escalators destroyed. I mean, wow. And yet all this did not stop the game from playing, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what matters? $1, $2, money. I mean, I'm looking at some of these pictures online. Escalator at Hard Rock Stadium, destroyed. Steps, destroyed. Elevators, destroyed. Glass, shard, shattered, strutting all over the place, destroyed. People being cuffed away. How does it? How does it get to this point? I guess is really what I'm after. I mentioned this so many times in the past, um, and we're good with that video. Thanks, Angel. I mentioned so many things in the past, like when it comes to sports. There's going to be a time, I think, in sports where I believe everything will be confined. I'm telling you, I believe we're getting to that area where you know how you have um, the plastic, right, to guard around the hockey rink so the fans can't go on the ice. I said this years ago. You're going to look at the netting in stadiums in baseball. You're going to look at how the NFL, they might start to make it almost like a futuristic, right, where you have like the cylinder of glass and or plastic, or again, where someone's not readily available to just jump out on the field. We're going same thing in the NBA. Everything will be confined now. You cannot allow the inmates to run the asylum. You can't. You just can't. I mean, I get it. People are absolutely fanatical and crazed when it comes to the sport of soccer. Right? We all are. We love it. We enjoy it. Now, imagine something like this occurring during the Super Bowl, where you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundred dollars at stake with advertising, and you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of viewers watching this. Can you imagine what would happen? Just for a moment, imagine if there were people that were stampeded to death last night. Who's liable? Right? Who's held liable for that? Imagine if little kids are trampled. The elderly get stepped on, trampled. They can't breathe. They have heart attacks. Just unfortunately collapse, die right there. I mean, this is, like I said, you cannot, Joey B chimes in, wonder what type of change would be made for the World Cup. After watching this, yeah, agree. I agree. We're not ready. But we want to grab the dollars. That's what we want to do. We want to grab the money. We don't want to lose the dollar. We do not want to lose a buck. We don't want to lose the opportunity to think about this. You've got 2026, and forgive me for saying 2024 before. You got 2026. So you've got USA is going to start, I believe, in SoFi Stadium. And then on the West Coast, the group stage, 2 matches in Seattle. So I misspoke before. I apologize. I got my dates mixed up and I got the venues mixed up. But point being, there's absolutely, you see how they tear up these countries. You see how they tear them up. I mean, what do you think? What do you think they're thinking about right now? DeSantis and these guys and the mayors down there in Florida, in Miami Gardens, President, Hard Rock Stadium. You know, the time, the energy, they got to fix that. They got to clean that up. They got to invest more time, effort, money, people, employees to deal with that nonsense. And yet the game still gets played last night. Why? Because God forbid, it would have been, if that actually, the more I think about it, if that game was canceled last night, then you probably would have had more of a ride. But that being said, 120-minute delay. 120-minute delay. Sorry. You had bad fields. You had bad security. You had great soccer. Don't get me wrong. You had wonderful soccer. You had controversies. You had bad fields. You had bad pitches. You had horrible security. You had knucklehead fans. You had, hooligans. You had jackass fans all over the place. Poorly executed venues, how they configured everything logistically. But yeah, you had great soccer, no doubt. That's what you want at the end of the day. But it will be remembered and marred by what transpired last night. And it's unfortunate.
Well,
because we are just ill prepared. What's up, Angel? Go ahead.
I think because you got to look at it too, right? When you you look at these third world countries and you see them, they do it all the time, right? They bring flares, they throw flares out in the field, flares up in the stands and everything else. How long was it going to take before it came here? The amount of people that also have come here from other places, that's all they know. And a match this big that he knew was going to happen should have been more orderly. Yes. Should have probably been more. Pete mentioned this morning that it should have the National Guard been called in. Probably so, because of the onslaught of people that were coming in. But
you got to call the National Guard in for a friggin' soccer game. If you have to do that, then there's a problem.
Right. You shouldn't have to. But the problem was I don't think they understood the gravity of what soccer has become here in the U.S. It's become big. And all these people, like there was a couple guys on a video that they mentioned that they spend between $1,000 and $2,000 just on tickets alone, not including the flight for them to get here, rental cars, the whole 9 yards, and their rooms. So they spend all that money and they're standing outside the gate and telling people, I have my ticket here. And they're like, well, listen, tell the people up in the stands that they got to come down. Just let them know that they're in your seat, and then let us know how it works out for you. It's a shame that it was like that. I mean, I'm just starting to see now the images of all the destruction at Hard Rock. So you figure now they got to get that all cleaned up here for next month when the first preseason game kicks off. Get alone for the fans who usually go in down there to Hard Rock Stadium when the Dolphins have open practice. What money are you getting that from in order to recover those damages, right? Because all these people they're gonna make the demand back from, you'd imagine Ticketmaster, everybody else, all the money that they're gonna have to pay back out, because if their tickets weren't scanned, you got to give them their money back one way or the other. And this chaos erupting, that would be the only right thing to do
because people with no tickets tried to get in, and people with tickets and tried to do it the right way got iced out. And but where the hell is security then? Where's the vetting process, right? Where's security? Where's scanning the tickets the right way? I mean, listen, I'm not going to equate it to what transpired last night, but I've seen what happens when casinos have their launches or their opens. It's like a stampede. It's like a herd, a stampede when you have a rush of people for the first time and they're excited and you're trying to scan cards and player cards and vouchers and this and that. And then you get the Drex, you get the sidewalk slimies that come in, people just want to sneak through the back door. It's just an absolute debacle. And there's not enough bodies to watch everything go through. So again, ultimately, you know why that game was played last night? Because we can't lose the revenue. We can't lose the broadcasting rights. We can't lose the eyeballs. We can't lose the advertisers. The people that pay for the ticket be damned. People that pay for the ticket, that's it. It's just it's just a piss poor look. And it just shows again how sometimes we are not, when it comes to like these events in sport, we're just not ready for the big stage at times. Like at least with the Super Bowl, you already know, you logistically, you do your site surveys, well in advance, how, for the most part, 99.9%, there's rather never an issue. But when you start to talk about the Copas, and you mentioned the influx of different, geographics and the fan bases and the different ethnicities coming in, and we know that the Spanish and the Latin, they're so passionate about everything and this and that. And then you mentioned that, hey, maybe you're just sitting there hanging out on Calle Ocho or Collins Avenue, and you decide, let's try to just friggin' break in and get in. Why not? We might have a chance to see X, Y, and Z. Oh, we might have a chance to see Messi. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. It's a one-time opportunity, and we're going to act like jerks, and we're going to act like idiots and vagrants and degenerates, and all of a sudden start to trash a friggin' place. Like destruction. I mean, again, imagine Angel, it would have been worse if you would have had the National Guard, because you don't think for a moment, all of a sudden, can you imagine them having to put somebody down because they feel threatened? Think about that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the same way you looked at the one video, and sorry you couldn't see it, but the one in the very beginning, like I felt bad for. So the cop who was there was very, at least he was like, could he manhandle, done things differently? He could have, but he took the two kids there. You could see where they're literally almost getting crushed. So he took the two kids, lift them over that little gate that was there, right? Then normally people respect and they're like, all right, I'm not pushing this thing down. But you can see one girl who was sandwiched in between, which I'm assuming was either her brother or boyfriend, against another guy. And you can see like she's getting, it's in pain. Then these animals end up pushing the gate over. Now this girl's getting trampled. And that same cop that was helping the kids is now trying to get this poor young girl up and away from harm's way because these people are going to go flying in there. Then you got the other cop who's pushing, shoving people, whatever. I mean, you can push and shove all you want to. You're not getting them out there. Then you have people that are climbing inside the vents that are pulling on the water pipes on the inside to climb an event. I've never in my lifetime seen something.
It's a stampede.
Yep.
It is a stampede. You know, this is why when people say, don't let the kids run out on the field in high school. And I know they want to express themselves in college and they want to have fun and they want to rip down but so eventually disaster is going to strike. There's a difference between having fun and expressing yourself. Last night was not having fun. It was a flat out riot. I mean, and that's the problem when you have fans storming a stadium to try to get in and security's trying to remove ticketless fans and they breached. How the hell do you breach the stadium? That's the other thing. Angel, think about this. You have fans, human beings who have nothing better to do, but they decide on a friggin' Saturday in Miami Gardens at Hard Rock Stadium, I'm going to climb through a friggin' vent to get inside a state. Think about that. Hey, Angel, what are you doing right now? Nothing. Hey, I got 10 minutes to kill. How about we just basically sit there and here we go.
Right.
Just climb through a friggin' vent. Now, you imagine if there was a real heavy security presence or in the National Guard, they're picking off people left and right. And then it's a national, it is beyond, I'm not going to say it's going to dwarf what occurred on Saturday, but you got back-to-back horrific events. Like, what are we doing as a society? Is it that important that some jerk-off's got to get in the game?
Yeah.
Buy a friggin' ticket then.
Yeah.
Buy a friggin' ticket or go to the bar with your buddies and have a couple pops and watch the game instead of acting like a jerk where you could have had some casualties and loss of life. Seriously.
No, I'm there with you because I'm the same exact way too. It is not that fucking, not that deep. It really isn't that fucking deep. If you can't afford it, don't go. It's like me. I would love to go to every sporting event in America. Can I afford it? No. So I got to pick and choose where I want to go. The same way with the NFL. I would love to go to games down here in Tampa, but at the same time too, I can't. Myself and my wife, we can't be dishing out, $400 to $600 a ticket for two people, and not to include the parking out that they jacked up between $60 and $80. Not to include the beers, the food, the 100 yards. I mean, before. Thank God the Rays are still $10. No offense, Rays, but they're $10 until the new stadium gets built. And then, of course, those prices might go up to $11, $12. Just saying, Rays fans, relax. But just, at the same time, too, you can only afford but so much. But I'm also not going to a venue where I know I have a strong possibility of getting stampede, trampled, arrested, whatever the case may be.
That's the problem.
Right. So
that's the problem. There lies the rub, my friend. Exactly what you just said. You should be able, we're at the point now where you should be able to take your family and go to a game and enjoy a game. But we're not, unfortunately, that time where back in the day we would all go to a game and we would turn around and we would, sneak down, check out some good seats, hang out, 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, a little parking, $150, $200, enjoy. We're well past that. I mean, I don't even like going to games anymore. I don't either for that matter. Yeah. I don't. So what we'll do is, look, she's getting all excited too because she knows what transpired last night in Miami as well. So with that, what we'll do, I know we got Lloyd coming up. We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back. We'll crank it up. Kiki says we'll crank it up on the other side, 25 past the 12 o'clock hour on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Coming at you right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, powered by ION TV. And of course...
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber. And I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
ION Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, IONTB.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
All right, 12:30. You're going to taking us to the break. 12:30 Eastern time. Midway through hour number one on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. You guys chiming in as well. 727-858-6650. Yeah, let me hear what you guys have to say. What transpired last night? It really is bad. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think when there have been obviously stampedes at concerts, right? I mean, stampedes at sporting events. We've seen it. There have been some horrible ones. We've seen them in the Middle East. We've seen them in India. We've seen them in Mexico and Latin America. We've seen, what was the, where was the stampede? I think it might have been, was it in the Middle East or was it in India? Malang, East Java. I had to pull it up. 125 people. 125 people killed in one of the deadliest sports stampedes ever.
Yeah.
Right? And then you only so stampede, triggered by tear gas leaves Indonesia, 125 dead after soccer match. So just that it's horrible. Horrible. And by the way, if you recall, when this transpired, attention right away was on the police that used tear gas, which is banned at soccer stadiums by FIFA, which is the World Soccer governing body. Everyone knows that, right? So you can't even comprehend 125 people. That's the equivalent of, God forbid, the equivalent of a plane going down. That's where we're at. I mean, that's just horrible. Now imagine last night. Imagine if you had a trigger-happy security guard or a young police officer, right?
Right.
Or someone who was just paid extra to be a security guard, but licensed to carry whatever the situation, the scenario is. And all of a sudden they see 4 or 5 people coming at them all bloodied, all gushed, glass, getting ready to throw, falling down from an event, ripping up an escalator. it would have just been utterly disastrous. It would have been an absolute melee. And I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to put it out there. But I would say 85% of me believes that game should not have been played last night. But then the 15% or the 20% in my gut starts to think, imagine if they would have canceled that game. What would have happened?
Yeah.
It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Nope. You brought up a great point because I was going to talk about that as well. That you're absolutely right. Because you can, or let's put the in-betweener, right? What happens? Let's just say, I see Joey B's comment, I'll bring it up here in a second, but let's just say if they would have told everybody, they would have put it against the big screen, on the big screens, and saying, okay, listen, we need everyone to exit out the stadium and we're going to orderly bring everybody back in, right? You saw Hard Rock put a message out there. How many people paid attention to that message? Nobody. So could you have imagined if that being the case and they would have said the game is canceled and all those people inside the venue, now you have the fear factor where it comes into the athletes that are in there, because who's to say these guys don't jump over on the field, go inside where the players are, the athletes are, and start destroying stuff.
Well, you saw the security not to cut you off, you saw the security that Messi has when the kid tried to get on the field. I mean, he's got like 36 bodies around him. Lionel Messi. But to your point, yeah, it would have been, I mean, you don't want to make light of it, but it's almost like when you watch those comedies back in the day, the disaster movies, like an airplane, right? Kindly move away from the back of the plane. There's a bomb on the plane. It's like utter chaos. I mean, it's bad, man.
Yep.
It really is, because you really can't, it takes it down a rabbit hole to, even when we just want to enjoy games as fans. And then you see fans, and I don't care, this whole narrative, what is going on over the years in Philly, you see the same crap in San Francisco. You see the same thing with Raiders fans. You see the same thing with Giant fans, Jet fans, Yankees fans, Red Sox fans. It does not matter. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
There's always a bunch of jackasses and jerk-offs who just decide we're going to put away too many, we're going to run our mouth, and then you know what? Buyer beware, and you get knocked on your ass, and then boom. It's just, you can't go to a sporting event anymore without just enjoying yourself. You can't. All right, 12:35. What we'll do is, you know what? We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk some NFL with our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. Got to remind you, if you're checking out any traffic alerts, weather advisories, accidents, anything, check out our good friends over at Eye on TV, at Eye on TV. We are powered by Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, chime in as well, 727-858-6650, as we are just cranking up on a Monday edition of Middays with Q, exclusively on the Coastal Sports Network. Back on the other side.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Middays with Q. Here's Q.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 12:40 on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing show, keeping us on the air. As I mentioned, we are powered by ION TV and coming at you exclusively on Coastal Sports Network. Give us a follow. That's pretty simple. At CSN Florida. And one of the familiar voices you might hear is our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, Q. Thanks for having me back on.
We always appreciate a couple moments. We were talking a little bit about what transpired last night in Copa America, and I was trying to, I guess, equate it to, well, not equate it, but you almost kind of drawing these parallels in the NFL. You know, the NFL typically, when we have these Super Bowls, right? I mean, the security is just a different animal in the NFL, right? Every single ticket. I mean, if it's not a legit ticket, you ain't walking through the gate. I mean, can you just, even rushing the field and this and that? I guess the question to start things off is, do you think we're going to hit a time where when we view games or we physically are at these sporting events where every single stadium, the field will be enclosed and basically the fans in attendance will have absolutely zero access, no opportunity, no advantage, no way to try to get on the field?
That's interesting. The thing is, fans are paying top dollar, all these corporations, et cetera, for as close experience, game day experience as they can get. But the thing is, Q, it's just tough right now in terms of the balancing security versus fan access and being able to have that vantage point of the game. Now, I was talking about on my show, I think last week, we were talking about just the difficulty of getting into a stadium now, in terms of if you have that fan experience, you're waiting in line to get patted down. Women are going through now they have to have clear purses to even get into the facility. And sometimes it's more of a headache than, that great experience. So, I think that would be kind of over the top in terms of security. But, I could see it happening, But right now, they're just trying to protect everybody, make sure people can't get on the field, have any problems, et cetera, because I go back to, we all remember what happened with Monica Seles. I don't know if you remember that with the tennis.
Sure, stabbed. Absolutely. Great point.
Yeah, I think somebody would be crazy actually to try to, the sport I cover, go after one of the football players because those guys are way larger than
Hey, I remember when a guy ran on the field and Mike Curtis, Mad Dog Mike Curtis from the Colts, knocked him right on his ass. I mean, you're right. I just think last night logistically it was set up. It was poorly executed. It's a bad look. It's unfortunate. And we certainly, when the Super Bowl is such a different, well, I guess you can say it's almost the equivalent to the soccer fan with the World Cups and the Copa. But that being said, it's just the amount of eyeballs and attention on the Super Bowl it's on another level. I want to start the segment with this because obviously Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, Coastal Sports Network, a little more of a focus on what transpires in the state of Florida when we talk about the NFL teams. Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami. Right now, right off the bat, loaded question. What team has more pressure on them heading into 2024 when you look at those three teams? The Bucs, the Jags, or Miami?
That's a great question, Q. I think, they each have their large amounts of pressure, but I'd probably say the Miami Dolphins have the highest expectations, being that Mike McDaniel's there. Chris Greer, their general manager, has assembled such a great set of talent on the offensive side of the football for this team. And everybody's wondering, okay, can they catch the Buffalo Bills, who have won a Division 4 straight years? And they came up short. Let's face it, at the end of last season, Q, in Buffalo, they came up short. They should have won the division. They had the big lead. They scored all those points, but they needed to do more. So there's a lot of pressure on them. Obviously, Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield, there is some goodwill there for them in terms of they won a playoff game against the Eagles team that really didn't show up. But there's a pressure there. People wonder, is Todd Bowles the right guy? And then obviously when you talk about Jacksonville, everybody's wondering, can Peterson be that guy he was from Philadelphia when he won a Super Bowl? And then Trevor Lawrence is now the highest paid quarterback in football.
So you believe the Dolphins going into the season, it's pretty much a window of opportunity closing for them, especially in the AFC and the AFCs. Out of those three teams, you look for the Dolphins to have the most pressure on them. Does that mean you would have the most confident out of those three teams that that's a team that makes the playoff and has a deep run?
Well, 2 out of 3 made the playoffs, and Jacksonville probably should have. So I'll probably say Jacksonville has, and Tampa have probably have easier roads, Q. Their divisions are a little bit easier, I think, in my opinion, in terms of competitiveness. And the AFC East is very tough. So the Dolphins got to be ready to hit the ground running. In particular, Tua, this is a contract year for him, and he's got to live up to, is he that guy that you're going to pay $50 million, $60 million a year? But it's going to be fun to watch these three teams. Training camp just started. Baltimore Ravens were in on Friday, and everybody's getting going.
Yeah, it's a good point, too, when you talk about Jacksonville and Tampa and their respective divisions. I mean, I think Jacksonville, everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop on Doug. And you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. They're paying him as if he is a top 5 quarterback because that's what the market dictates. But, man, I'll tell you, you pay a quarterback like that and you got to build around him. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach, right? Maybe the expectations are higher in Jacksonville than, say, Tampa, where you had that bridge quarterback in Baker. But, I mean, look, out of those three right now, Baker, Tua, and Trevor Lawrence, I mean, who gives you the most confidence in a big spot?
Yeah, that's a good one, Q, because there's not a lot of playoff wins on the board there. We know Baker Mayfield actually, I think out of all these guys, he has the most playoff wins. I think it's 2. But it's a situation I'd still have to say that this is a tough one.
I mean, think about
Trevor
it.
Lawrence.
If Miami played at home and they didn't have to go on the road to Kansas City and lose 26-7, they can't do anything with their offense. We saw what happened against Buffalo. Their defense let them down. Again, they let Allen throw and run all over the place. But if Miami was hosting a home game and they had a running back or running backs that were healthy at the time, I would probably give the edge to Miami, even though we saw what Tampa did against a perennial NFC favorite in the Philadelphia Eagles. But I also think that was a case of they caught the Eagles at the right time. They dropped 6 or 7 coming in, right?
Yeah, and when you look at these three quarterbacks, I'd probably say look at their ceiling, and Trevor Lawrence has the highest ceiling, and I think that's why the Jags gave him that extension. He's still the face of this franchise. Tua, there's that question mark, as we were just saying, the injuries. Can he get it done in cold weather situations? His arm strength, is he the right guy? And we'll see if he's able to stick around this season. And then Baker Mayfield, obviously, this is what his 4th team that he's been on. So there's always question marks there. Last year, yes, was a good year for Baker Mayfield, but you wonder, is bad Baker going to show up? The guy that, at his end of his tenure with Cleveland, they were like, get out the door.
Right. And as I mentioned, I think sometimes you catch a team at the right time. That's usually the case. 12:50 as hour number 1 flying by right here on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Lloyd Vance kind enough to join us, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. And of course, as we are powered to you by Ion TV and coming at you at Coastal Sports Network, I think if I look at those quarterbacks, right, and then we'll move on, but Baker's that journeyman, right? Lawrence says, and I get killed for saying this, and it's been brought to my attention too by some of my buddies, Daniel Jones-ish type of numbers. Now, I've always been a Lawrence fan. I also think it hurt them when they drafted Etienne. They didn't fix the offensive line. The kid gets banged up, and then Lawrence gets sacked. They made the playoffs. They had that big run. But again, they were 8-3 last year, and they couldn't beat some bad teams, right? I mean, they had that bad loss to the Titans. Caldwell gets fired. Here you go. Then you look at Tua. And yet, same argument I have with my buddies, right? They look at Tua and they think Tua stinks. I think Tua is a good quarterback. I think Tua puts up good numbers. But you almost now resign yourself to the fact where do you want a guy that's going to be inconsistent, a guy that really hasn't shown he can be that $100 million quarterback yet, or a veteran journeyman vagabond quarterback that you mentioned, makes plays, and that's Baker Mayfield. It's tough. I still believe when you look at those divisions, it should be Jacksonville's division to lose. The NFC South, you can make a case for and against 2 to 3 teams. We'll just keep Carolina to the side. But even from an odd standpoint, Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa. AFC East, that's a tougher division, man. The Patriots are going to stink. We have no idea what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers coming back. And now there's some thoughts about bringing in a couple other pieces and whatever. I'm so over friggin' Aaron Rodgers. Just go away. 4 snaps, you're done. Just go away. And then you've got Buffalo. And I think this year, if they pay Tua, if Miami Dolphins pay Tua the money he wants, and he's going to command and demand on the market right now, and if you're paying him like a top 5, then he certainly has to produce. And this goes back to something you and I have talked about over the years. Quarterback and the head coach, they're hand in hand, man. So if you go out and you pay Tua and this team only wins 7 or 8 games and he falters, the head coach is going to be on the hot seat. You're going to have question marks surrounding the quarterback. But again, it's a tough division because you're still dealing with the Buffalo Bills. So I guess the point being is, at least with one of those teams, Tampa Bay, you kind of know you got a bridge quarterback. Jacksonville, you believe you have a franchise quarterback because you paid him like it. Miami, I get the sense that they don't know what they have yet or what they feel they have in Tua.
Yeah, true. They're in no man's land right now. They're a team that's good enough to beat the bad teams, but when they step up and echelon, they always get knocked down. Let's not forget last year against 6 winning teams, they were 1-5. So that just shows you that the Dolphins, when they had to step up in class, they always came up short. The only team they beat with a winning record was Dallas, and they put up a ton of points. And we know, they have the fantasy football stats, but this is real football. And in the playoffs, that's when you got to put your big boy pants on and go out and beat an opponent. Especially they had to go on the road in the playoffs this time, and it's just tough for them away from Miami. So, Tua, if I'm Chris Greer, I would not give him that contract, Q. But I just think a lot of these quarterbacks are paid so much, and then it's tough to get out of these situations if it goes awry because, I know he overcame his injuries last year, but imagine he gets hurt after they give him that large contract.
Well, I don't need to imagine. I lived through it. Giants did it with Daniel Jones.
Right.
I mean, who you telling? Right? I've seen this before, right? And I mean, Tua is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Sorry. I mean, it's just, he is. 727-858-6650. We'll get some of your, as well as on X at CSN Florida. Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, kind enough to join us on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Good soccer talk to start things off with Copa America and the debacle. Transition over to a little NFL talk. This is something you and I talked about on BYP, and we've mentioned this on Middays with Q as well. And I thought we had a caller there for a moment, and 727-858-6650. Our screening process is on another level with my guy, Angel Martinez, behind the glass. By the way, doing yeoman-like work as only he can. I mentioned this to you. The Philadelphia Eagles. There he is. All right, see there. Now I just heard the test. We'll see who that is in a moment. 727-858-6650. So I mentioned the Philadelphia Eagles for a moment, and I feel as though that we look at this team and we want to, there's this narrative, this perception going into the season. Are we going to get the Philadelphia Eagles from a couple seasons ago? Or are we going to get the Philadelphia Eagles that started 10-1? And I maintain this. And the Eagles fan can't stand hearing this. They really just get annoyed. But here's the fact, right? The San Francisco 49ers absolutely broke the spirits of the Philadelphia Eagles, right? We saw that. They broke the spirit of the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you got, Angel? He's testing the audio. There you go. See that? We're testing out the phone line, and he fires off the questions perfectly to Lloyd.
Yeah, we're excited for tonight's show. Nate's going to have his fantasy football corner. That's my son. He's working through become mass communications major, and we'll have. I didn't talk to him what his topic's going to be, but we'll definitely be fantasy football related, and we're also going to preview the NFC West this evening and talk about. Q, you'll like this. Each team I worked out one question / one slogan for the team for the season going into 2024. So,
interesting enough, that's kind of, again, what we talked about prior to, right? I mean, think about this. We talked about this before with the 49ers, right? I think at this moment, 49ers, Green Bay is on the come up. I'm not sold on Dallas. I think they're going to struggle. I'm hit or miss right now on Jalen Hurts at this moment. Minnesota's got too many question marks. Chicago's a young team. We talked about the NFC South. We don't like the quarterback position right now with the Saints and or the Falcons. We both believe that Penix is going to start when they go and perhaps have that game in London and Kirk Cousins coming off that injury. We know what Carolina is. We mentioned Tampa Bay. Basically, I'm kind of going through, Washington people think might be kind of a sleeper. They might be a team that maybe sneaks up on some people, young quarterback. All right, change head coaches. Here we go. Detroit, I believe Detroit and the Rams I'm not entirely sold on, but if you discount the Eagles for a minute, the only threat to the 49ers are the 49ers themselves if they can't get through the season healthy. And I also believe Detroit. I went back and I was watching that NFC Championship, and remember now, Detroit got a first down late in that first half. They were already by 14. The play calling was a little suspect. Goff missed a wide open. I think it was the tight end in the back of the end zone. They go up by 21. That's a totally different animal, but they settled for the field goal, and then obviously we know how the second half played out. But I believe the 49ers right now, top to bottom, offense and defense, they're clearly the best team in the NFC. They have to get over that hump when it comes to getting to the Super Bowl and obviously winning the Super Bowl. And they had their opportunities again last year. But I just think they're the most complete and dominant team. And I believe only injuries can derail the 49ers.
Yeah, Q. And when you talk about in the NFL, they're AFC heavy. So the NFC, as you were saying, there's really still only about 3 to 4 true contenders. And I do agree with you that the Niners should be one of those top teams. Now, you have to guard against the Super Bowl loser. A lot of times those teams, after they lose the Super Bowl, they have difficulty next season. Just getting that core group back together. Obviously, they've had some defections. Guys get hurt. But I think overall they did a good job in bringing the large portion of the group that carried them to the Super Bowl back. And I think Ayuk is going to stay there throughout the season, even though this contract situation is kind of fluid. Yeah. They still have Deebo Samuel, as you were talking about. Trent Williams, one of the best offensive linemen in football. And the big question mark was always Brock Purdy. Is he that guy that's Mr. Relevant, the last pick in a draft? I think all that's out the window now. He's proven that he is a veteran leader. He's a guy that stepped up. And
Top 10 quarterback? Top 10 quarterback.
Ooh, that's – you have to list them out, but – I'd say he's on the cusp there. He's right there. He's an efficient Q. He does not turn the football over. And that's always huge with a lot of these teams. They have McCaffrey. He gets him the ball in space on his swing passes. And then, if you list them out, I'd say maybe he's 9, 10, 11, somewhere around there. I always put the barometer. I did this on my show with my co-host Kevin. Is he better than Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, I kind of think, is that guy that's kind of one of those separation point guys in the top 10, I'd have to say Purdy at this point just because he got to the Super Bowl and everything. I think he's just a little bit, though, below.
I think there's such a bias against this kid because he was a 7th-round draft pick, 262. That's what I honestly believe. If this kid was a first-round quarterback, top 20, we would not be having this conversation. It's my personal opinion. Give me a kid that wins. I don't need sexy friggin' stats. I really don't. I do not need sexy stats. And I feel as though we want 350 yards. We want Justin Herbert or Lawrence or Mahomes in type of numbers, and we want you to add another 40, 50 yards scrambling, and you got to win your 13. So this kid puts up modest numbers, safe numbers, consistent numbers. He threw for 4,200 yards last year. He had 31 friggin' touchdowns, and he had 11 interceptions. And yet, guys like you, who host Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, every Monday, and joins me on Middays with Q, and joins me on Back Your Play, and has been with me for over 15, 16, 17 years on the air, wherever radio stops we have. You're looking at this guy, and you're pigeonholing him, and you're saying because he was a second-round draft pick, he was Mr. Irrelevant, he's not pretty good. He's just average right now. And I think that is an absolute crock. I stick this kid in top 10. That's me.
Well, you know me. I look at all the total picture, and the thing is, the Niners, he led them to the best record in football last year. He tied to 12-5. Obviously, they probably could have won one of those last games they kind of gave away. Actually, one game behind the Ravens, but they were right there in terms of best record. And as you're saying, he is the leader of this team. The only thing is, we're just so stats-driven as analysts, in my role, and then fans in general, because they're looking at the prop bets and they're looking at their fantasy football team, and Purdy's just not that guy jumped off the screen. But, he's a consummate leader of this team. Shanahan and him, hand in glove, as you were saying, and a dangerous combination. I think he's going to get his money, but it's going to be tough to pay everybody with the Niners. So that window is kind of closing as he gets to the end of his rookie contract. But, Purdy is up there. But yeah, I still don't think he's in the ilk of Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or any of these guys, but he is a solid quarterback. And then you don't want to stick him with that game manager, quote unquote label, but he's a guy that does a great job within the system, and he knows his role, which is great. And there's been several quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls just being solid pros and leading their team.
All right, 1 o'clock, straight up. This is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, in conjunction with Coastal Sports Network, a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Love the engagement on X as well. If you guys are chiming in, got some really nice eyeballs. Keep the comments coming as well. If you want to get in on the conversation, as always, we encourage you to do just that. We'll take a quick time out. We'll keep with Lloyd, and then we'll come back, and we'll have about another 5 or 10 minutes with Lloyd. I want to get into some of these top quarterbacks in the NFL, a couple storylines I want to just kind of throw at you, and you guys can chime in as well. 727-858-6650. 16 of books, 60 to play with on a Monday. Keep it locked in right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at Rich Q on Q. And now, back to Q.
I appreciate everyone keeping tuned in on the very busy Monday edition of Middays with Q. Because we are powered by Coastal Sports Network exclusively on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. And by the way, also want to welcome in our good friends over at Combat Sports Now. Check them out. And as always, Eye on TV, breaking news, traffic jams, weather alerts. They've got Tampa Bay absolutely cornered when it comes to that news breaking market, if you will, down there in Southwest Florida. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us, keep the conversation rolling. Don't forget, you can catch him every Monday night, 8 to 9 on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game with Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. He does a great job, him and Kevin do, all things NFL related. Also during the week on Back Your Play with myself. All right, so top 10, right? It's always that loaded list. Everyone's got their conversation, subjective, bar talk. Here we go. What the hell are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. This guy's great. This guy's a gamer. This guy's a game manager. This guy puts up fluff stat, blah, 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 blah. Let's just be honest here, right? Truth serum. Let's just get some of the suspects out of the way. But I think there's a caveat when you look at some of these quarterbacks. So we can all agree right now, we're just doing a handful of quarterbacks. We're going to throw Patrick Mahomes. Right? We can all agree right now, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Yes?
Yes. And yeah, so I got out my list from my notes. So yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm just going to rip these through, right? So we'll go Patty Mahomes. I'm going to put Lamar Jackson. I'm still going to put Josh Allen. I'm going to put right now, top 10. I'm going to put, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment. I'm putting CJ Stroud. I'm putting Jared Goff.
Ooh, okay.
I don't like anyone out of the NFC South. I think I told you that. I'm putting Purdy. I'll put Stafford's not top 10 anymore. Murray's not top 10. You know how I feel about Seattle. I will put, you know what? I'll put Love right now, top 10. I can't put Rodgers because he's coming off an injury, because if that was the case, then I would stick him in Cousins. I like Justin Herbert. I'll put Hurts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that leaves one more. I mean, I can asterisk Rodgers coming off the injury. Do we put Prescott? All right, fine. Then I'll just throw Prescott out there. So that's kind of like a very rough on the fly on this Monday edition of Middays with Q, hour number 2. My top 10. Purdy, LJ, Josh Allen, Stroud, Lamar Jackson, right? Hurts, Herbert, Prescott. So what say you?
Well, I know you're going to be kicking yourself because there's one guy. We pretty much agree on some of those. Joe Burrow is not on your list. Joe Burrow.
Then I would, you know what? And thank you for, I mean, I'm a Burrow guy. So Joe Burrow, got to throw Joe Burrow, Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Stroud. That'll give me 5 right there. All right. That's me, but you go.
Yeah. No, I have Mahomes.
Yep.
Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, and then I put Purdy at 10.
So are Love and Stroud a prisoner? Are we prisoners of the I mean, CJ Stroud had a ridiculous offensive campaign his rookie year. I think a lot of it had to do with some of the weapons. They only added that, by the way, with Diggs. And now you look at what Love was able to do and get those receivers into the mix, coached them up, put up some big numbers, had the big win on the road. Are we prisoners of the moment with those two? I mean, or is this, let's wait and see what transpires in Love's case? What's this going to be, his 3rd season? And then Stroud's 2nd season, I believe. Yeah. So are we prisoners in the moment? Or are they legit top 10?
No, I'd have to say they're legit top 10. I know it's a season league, Q, and you can only go by what they did in 2023. And then we start talking about, like we did with Trevor Lawrence, their ceiling. So Jordan Love, that's the youngest team to win a playoff game in quite some time in NFL history, I think, in the Super Bowl era. So, he's got a good young core around him, ascending group. They got Josh Jacobs coming over at the running back position. And then when you talk about Stroud, it's just ridiculous, the amount of weapons that they've accumulated down there in the Houston Texans. Particularly now you have Diggs coming over there with them. So I think they'll be well supported. And they're going to have some great seasons in terms of the prop bets and people picking them high in fantasy football. These guys are definitely top 10 in my opinion. Now, the one, there's always a lot of debate around Justin Herbert. I wanted to get your opinion on him. He struggled in terms of the head coach and closing out games. Now they're coming back and they really don't have a lot of weapons around him. They went into the draft and they got Ladd McConkey, but there's just not a lot there. So what are we thinking about Justin Herbert? Is he at the top 10 or
I mean, I wanted the Giants. I mean, obviously it didn't play out, but I was a big fan of Justin Herbert. I watched the kid in Oregon. He puts up, the numbers like another quarterback that played for the Chargers that went to Oregon as well, in Dan Fouts. I mean, he puts up monster numbers. I think some of that has to do with, the coaching over the last several years. We've documented the head coach. He's made some really boneheaded decisions and blunders and over-aggressive and too aggressive. It doesn't help that this team, I think, lost 5 out of 6 to close out the season. Their only win was 6-0 against New England. But yeah, I know, which is a bad football team, right? Listen, they don't have a lot of weapons to begin with, but I still think he's an exceptional quarterback, and he just could be a product of, just being with the wrong franchise at the moment. I mean, people were trying to say that with Josh Allen. Remember there was talk that the Giants should sell the farm, right? Because now all of a sudden Dable's over there and Shane, let's go and try to trade for Josh Allen. There was talk about Burrow, Joe Burrow, but yet this is a team that had one of the worst offensive lines, and they still were able to get to a Super Bowl, and they had an opportunity to win it. So I like, if you ask me who I'm taking over Trevor Lawrence, I'm taking Josh Burrow. I'm taking Justin Herbert. I'm taking Josh Allen. I would take Justin Herbert over Dak Prescott. I mean, I know I have Dak Prescott right. I just think Dak Prescott, if Dak Prescott's if he doesn't have that star on his helmet, are we enamored as much with Dak Prescott? And from where he came, where he was drafted, and he put up decent numbers, but again, you're wearing the star. You want to get paid like that big-time quarterback. Well, it always boils down to what, right? Playoff wins. And Prescott, he's had a really nice career. You're talking about a kid that was drafted in the 4th round, and he's put up some really great numbers. I mean, it's crazy to think. I believe this will be his, and I'll double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will be his 10th season with the Dallas Cowboys. But he's not a clutch quarterback. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that those other guys that I named are. I feel as though we put too much stock in Dak Prescott. I remember years ago, it was so nauseating. Lloyd, who's better, Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott? Who's better, Donovan McNabb or Tony Romo? I mean, can you come up with other talking points, please? But I'm not as high on Prescott as a lot of people are. And I think I mentioned to you, he's one of my quarterbacks, on the big board under the gun, along with the head coach. But going back to your point with Justin Herbert, yeah, I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I do.
Yeah. And Dak is definitely one of those guys at the bottom of the top 10. And you're like, is he better than Hurts? Is he better than Purdy? And clearly, my one buddy, one of my callers always talks about 0 calorie Dak Prescott. He fills up on bad teams, puts up huge numbers. Dallas was number 1, number 2 in scoring last year. But as you're saying, in key moments, he just came up short, particularly in the playoffs. And you just can't turn your head to that. And it's crazy. He falls after Tony Romo, he's very similar to him, putting up the great stats, and everybody says, well, he's a Pro Bowl type quarterback and everything, but you want to win a big game. I don't want either of them in that situation. And yes, Dak Prescott led the NFL in touchdowns last year with 36, but a lot of those points were against bad teams, and he's got to get it done at this point. It's Super Bowl or bust for the Dallas Cowboys, and I just don't know if they've done enough this offseason, and Jerry Jones is probably going to tear this thing down.
Yeah, agree. Lastly, former NFL DC Monty Kiffin, who was the great architect of that Tampa 2. And think about that. He worked his way up the ranks in Nebraska, became head coach at NC State from 1980 to 1982. Those were some dominated Tampa teams, that Tony Dungy and, obviously culminating in a Super Bowl win. He passes away. And then, shocking news, right, when you consider how old Jacoby Jones was, who scored 2 TDs in the Ravens Super Bowl win a couple years back, passes away at the age of 40. So that's, Kiffin 84, long life, legendary career. And then Jones had his moments in the Super Bowl, but just 40 years of age.
Yeah, Q, both unfortunate situations. Your heart goes out to their families. And Monty Kiffin did a great job learning under Tony Dungy. And that Tampa 2 defense will live on. And Jones, that was just shocking. Jacoby Jones at 40, he's such a young guy. And big piece of Ravens history. I saw a lot of his Ravens teammates talking about what a great leader he was and a behind-the-scenes guy. So they'll both be missed, and I'm sure their teams will play tribute to them during this season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Too young, and then, as we mentioned, Kiffin with a really distinguished career. Here, of course, is Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us. He will join us every week. Also joins me during the week on Back Your Play when we do a little more in-depth and take a look at the gambling element when it comes to the NFL, sports betting as well, props and win totals. Bland Show chimes in. Not Bland Show. Kirk is getting paid. Why can't he? What? How many wins in the playoffs does Cousin have? Why can't he be a top 10 guy? And Lloyd will tell you on the record, have I not been one of the biggest Captain Kirk support? I mean, I should have a pilot's hat.
He can't win a primetime game now. His record.
He can't win a playoff game. He can't win a playoff game. I mean, look, that game they lost to the Giants on that 4th and 8. I mean, they're drawing up a check down Charlie play, right?
Yeah.
Cousins made his bones when he was the backup, and then he started those games for the Commanders and put up some monster numbers. Kirk Cousins has had a really nice career. But if he's coming off that injury, if Rodgers coming off that injury, and I can't stick him in the top 10, I can't do it with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, me neither. He's a winner at the bank account. He's made more money than all these quarterbacks, some of them combined. And the thing is, though, you just have to do more than win some regular season games. It just matters getting your team to the playoff, driving them further. And then when you look at the talent that's been assembled around him, particularly with the Vikings, they should have did a better job in terms of Dalvin Cook and Jefferson and these guys. You think they should have went further. So, yeah, he came up a little bit short, and that's why he falls out of the top 10.
1-3 in the playoffs. 1-3. So, I mean, again, you get paid by winning in January. In February. Do not forget, by the way, we're creeping up to 500 on X, so we appreciate the engagement. Lloyd Vance, you can catch him every Monday night at 8 p.m. right on the dot on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game with Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. You and Kevin Midget do a great job breaking down the NFL. A lot of storylines, seasons right around the corner, and then Lloyd will you'll catch Lloyd with me on Back Your Play, part of SR 102.9. And on my YouTube channel, Leon Media Group, as well, and Coastal Sports Network. So you catch them all over the place, bringing down some football as only he can do. How is where'd you go? Did you go to, was it Lewes? Is that how you pronounce it? I couldn't, every time I was on the air in Delaware, I would butcher stuff.
So that's Lewes, Delaware, is the area where I was near. And it was a great day out there.
Passed over.
Yeah, it was hot. It was hot out there. The water was cold, though. So, waiting for that water to warm up. My son went out there, so I had to get in the water, but it was...
Hey, you got to take advantage of those beach days. I mean, it's going to be a scorching 93 where I am today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and then it'll probably cool off a little bit. So Lewes, I don't know why I always call it Lewes, but whatever. That's probably why they ran me off the radio in Delaware. Who the hell knows? All right, my friend.
I loved you there. I can still hear the franchise talking about you.
Hey, listen, I've got I'll tell you what, they were a great group of guys, man, and I definitely missed those 1290 The Ticket days, absolutely, on that Fox Sports affiliate. So no, we had a lot of fun, and I actually have some of those listeners who have been following me over the last several years, so that's good. Yeah, franchise. It was always about the Ravens, the Yankees, and conspiracy theories. I mean, can you imagine franchise calling in today after what transpired over the weekend? Oh my God, I would have had to mute him. That would have been it. I would just, you got to be banned from the show. But anyway, appreciate you, my friend. We'll be tuning in. Don't forget, give Lloyd a follow on X at Lloyd Vance. Always appreciate a couple moments, pal.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you have it. Our friend Lloyd joining us. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football every Monday night from 8 to 9 right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. Great stuff. We love the interaction right now on X. You guys are absolutely crushing it, creeping up to 500 of you guys tuning in. So that's fantastic job. Keep it coming. Don't forget, give us a follow at CSN Florida. And you guys can follow along SR 1029. The Game. And as we get set to take a break, before we do that,
hang on. As you're mentioning that, hang on.
Cut me off. I'm doing my flow here. I'm trying to get my live read.
That's what I do. I interrupt the flow. That's what I do. No, not
by you, but go ahead.
No, listen, for those who are watching on X, we do appreciate it. Again, this morning, because of the new adjustments that X made, not by us, but what X made, things had to get reorganized. But the reason why you'll hear Q say, you'll hear myself say it, and Pete and everybody else, is that we want you guys to visit the website, sr1029thegame.com. You guys see it on the screen, all shows long, morning, midday, and mid-morning shows. But more importantly, it's to download the app, the new digital sports app. I cannot emphasize that enough. Reason being, for a situation like this morning, if you guys would have had the app, you would have noticed that the show was live on the app, and you can also listen in on the app. That's the reason why I redesigned the entire app. So when the show, for some reason, Facebook has its moments, YouTube, Twitter, everybody has their moments. But thankfully, with the web design, the way I put it together, you guys can watch the show live on the app. You can listen in on the app. You can text on the app. And you can also call into the studio on the app as well. So that's why I just strongly emphasize, if you guys can download the app, again, it doesn't cost you a dime. It costs me. It doesn't cost you guys a thing. So just do me a favor. Do us a favor here on Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Download the app, so that if something happens, I can always send you guys the push notifications, because when you download it, enable the notifications. You guys don't get bombarded by notifications. It's only when something new is dropped or a situation like we had this morning. So please do us a favor, download the SR 1029 The Game app. You guys will see it right on the homepage. And it's for any device. It is not available on the app stores as of yet, because I had just redesigned it last week. So it takes a couple months for it to load up again in the stores. So I made it super convenient for you guys, where you can just download it directly from the website, sr1029thegame.com. Sorry, senor.
Hey, I mean, listen, it's a public service announcement. We want people to follow us. We love the engagement we are getting from the fans in Florida and Jersey and PA and New York and out west. So yeah, they need to know. This is what we like to call vital, pertinent information.
Yes.
And that's where we're at with that. 727-858-6650-25 past the 1 o'clock hour on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show. You catch him during the week, 10 to 12. Martinez and company start the week off right. Pete Shepard Show, 7 to 10 a.m. Monday to Friday right here on SR 1029 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. What's interesting too is I want to get in a little baseball on the other side, and I'll read off some of these comments too. Chiming in, you guys can get in 727-858-6650. And we'll, and I'll kind of tease it, but we're at the midway point of the baseball season. So we've got the All-Star game coming up, obviously, and the festivities. If people still watch that kind of stuff, if they don't, whatever, home run, derby, all that stuff. I mean, a lot of it's lost its luster, but there's a couple players out there that are putting up absolutely historic numbers. And if you're not paying attention, you're missing out. But I also believe there's going to be a debate, not really so much on what's going on in the AL when it comes to the MVP race, but the NL MVP race. As much as we want to believe it's a lock, it's a shoo-in, which to a man, I believe it is. I think there's going to be debate on it, and I want to get into that on the other side. 727-858-6650. Just a reminder, we're powered by Ion TV. If you're looking for breaking news, if you want to know what's going on weather-wise, or if you want to know what's going on in the very busy, congested highways in Southwest Florida, Tampa of note, check them out. Ion TV. Give them a follow, and right here on the Coastal Sports Network. We're probably about 40 minutes away from wrapping it up on a Monday. Keep it locked in. Bottom of the hour coming up. We'll take a quickie time out. When we come back on the other side, about 25 to 30 to play with. MLB talk, NL, AL, MVP races. They are heating up. A couple players that are putting up absolutely historic numbers. We'll get your thoughts as well at 727-858-6650. Keep it locked in to a Monday edition of Middays with Q.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, close to 1:30 on the East Coast, a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rondell and Facebook chimes in. Q, loving the show, loving the passion and the excitement. And you guys were talking about the Copas. What an absolute joke and an embarrassment. We are not a third world country, contrary to what many believe, but that was an absolute disgrace. Agree with you wholeheartedly. Where was security? Well, it's not where it was just a major lapse. And yeah, it's a unfortunate incident that transpired last night. By the way, you could also connect with us on Facebook at Coastal Sports Network. So we're pretty much all over the place, as Angel alluded to, but download the app, download the friggin' app. Go ahead. He can interrupt me right now. Go ahead.
No, you're right.
I saw you were peeking.
No, you guys can follow us there on CSN Florida, on X, of course, CSN Florida as well, or the Coastal Sports Network on Instagram, the Coastal Sports Network on Facebook, And you guys can always visit the website, sr1029thegame.com. And yes, please download the app so you guys won't miss a thing. And if there's a notification, something happens for some reason, like this morning, the show does not kick off on the socials. We can send a push notification to let you know that it is everything. The shows are always live on sr1029thegame.com. Always, all the time, every time, including Lloyd's show, Talking Hoops. Those shows are live on the Sports Radio Talk, Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game tab. So you look there, that's on there as well, including the host of the shows. You guys can see where their social media tags are, where you guys can follow them there as well. But we would love for you guys to obviously to follow CSN Florida, more importantly, because that's where everything's going to be pushed through and funneled through. So we appreciate everyone who tuned in today, everyone who continues to tune in, and especially those who listen in on the digital sports radio app, like Jerry from Rhode Island, who works on a boat all day long, but has us locked in and tuned in because it's easier for him to do it on the radio app, of course, because he's dealing with multiple things.
I wonder.
We always appreciate everyone. Yes.
I wonder if Jerry watches that show where they go out to sea, and then some people don't come back. Like I see commercials for it where they're like, murder can happen in your hometown. And sometimes the sea is not as dangerous as people are. What's it called?
The Deadliest Catch?
No, that's when they're going out fishing. I'm talking about where people are like getting pushed overboard, where the couple goes out and all of a sudden the husband comes back and the wife's swimming with the fishes. No,
I don't know. Is that Carnival?
No, really? I mean, that's where we're going. I mean, they do have a lot of issues.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. No offense, listen, Carnival. Unless you throw some buckets this way, but no.
Hey, listen,
it's not nothing new. We hear it all the time. People
that is there. There's always something going on in the water. Again, no pun intended there. I'm watching all these shows where you get the husband and wife on the honeymoon, and here you go, and it was a great life, and here you go, blah blah blah. And remember, what's the motive? What is the number one motive anytime a spouse offs another spouse?
Money.
Always.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, Mrs. Jones, we realized you had a $2 million life insurance policy on Ronald. Well, there you go. That's it. Case closed. It should be a foregone conclusion. You hate to jump to him, but come on, man. Couple goes out, one comes back. I'm sorry. You pushed him over. End of story. I don't need to do fingerprints. I don't need logistics. I don't need the FBI. I don't need the Navy SEALs. I don't need the police. I don't need the Coast Guard. I don't need to watch Dateline. I don't need to watch Murder Mysteries. I don't need friggin' Matlock. I don't need Perry Mason. I don't need friggin' who is the guy that always come back and be like, let me ask you one more question. Columbo. Columbo. Before you pushed him over, was the sea angry? That's all I want to know. I don't need any. I know for a fact. And I'll tell you right now, if God forbid I ever say I'm going on a cruise with someone and that person comes back, I'm letting you know right now, I did not jump. I want it on the record at 1:32 Eastern time on July 15th. I did not jump. It is all about the money. Yes. Yeah. I don't need Perry Mason. I don't. I mean, by the way, why are we... The guy never lost a freaking case.
Never.
I mean, I get it. When TV black and white back in the day, you want to watch because you think he might lose that case. He's not. I did not jump. Thank you, Joey B. That is breaking news. 1:32 p.m. I'm telling you guys right now, I did not jump. But the guy never lost a case.
He never did.
Unbelievable.
Never did.
Now I'll tell you a player that I can make a case for, and I want you to follow me on this right now with baseball. Aaron Judge is running away with the AL MVP. Running away with his numbers are staggering. I mean, look, if you look across the board, Yankees and Baltimore both with 58 wins in the AL East, Cleveland 58 wins in the AL Central, Seattle 52 in the AL West, and then of course the Phillies, even though they had a goofy series against the A's, 62-14, they're having a great year. Braves trying to catch them, Mets aren't going to catch them. You got Milwaukee, you got the Dodgers, respectively, in their divisions. I'll get to the NL in a second, but if you look at the numbers that Judge is putting up, it's absolutely You know, I love my notes. It's absolutely staggering. He's on pace. If you're talking about select company that we've never seen before in baseball, just to put it in perspective, like he's definitely going to crack over 50 something odd home runs. But these are the numbers that I took a look and I said, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. We talk about OPS, we talk about slugging percentage. He's on pace for 55 home runs, 672 slugging percentage, 143 ribbies, and 307 average, which is just numbers that you have to look at guys like Babe Ruth. You got to look at Jimmy Fox. So he's clearly, unless he gets hurt, DeKid Henderson has a good opportunity from Baltimore.
Right.
Now here's where the conversation gets a little dicey and tricky in the NL. So I've maintained this for years. I think Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball. You've got a guy that can win you 20 games on the mound and he can hit 40 home runs, right? Obviously, he's not pitching this year for the Dodgers. He's coming off the injury. He quit DH. His numbers as a DH are still staggering. Now, the argument will be made if Shohei Ohtani pitches and he hits every season, he's clearly going to be the MVP of said league. And in this case, it's now the NL. So he's batting .316. He's got 68, 69 RBI. He's got 29 home runs, 4 triples, 23 doubles, and 117 hits. And his WAR is 5.4. Now, the argument will be, well, he's a DH and he's not pitching. And then I looked up David Ortiz. I looked up Edgar Martinez as DHs. They never even sniff an MVP. So I'll throw it out to you. I'll throw it out to everyone chiming in, 727-858-6650. And by the way, we're also looking at his OPS, which is just unheard of. I think clearly as a DH, Shohei Ohtani is running away with the NL MVP, whether he pitches or not.
Okay. Let's just say hypothetically, excuse me, Ohtani's agent comes back and says, listen, we know we just spent $300 some odd million for this young fine man, but you know what? I think he's going to finish up his career as a DH and he's not going to pitch anymore. How irritable will be either A, a lot of fans, and B, will the Dodgers allow it?
Well, I don't believe that's going to be the case. He's just not pitching this year. Hey. I mean, yeah, but your hypothetical is your hypothetical, right? I mean, I can't have that conversation unless it's December, January, February, and we learn that Ohtani is just going to shut it down as being a pitcher. I don't believe they paid. Ohtani got the money. He got the money on the ideal, on the premise,
right,
that he will pitch and he will hit. It's just you weren't going to take the bat out of his hands. You couldn't use him on the mound this year because of that injury. You still had to have him out there. So I don't, again, that's a hypothetical. It's a really interesting hypothetical, but we have to talk about what's tangible in the now at the moment right now, period, right? It's not, but see that it's not angle. It's not stumping. It's just, I don't deal in hypotheticals, even though we talk about them. Talk about right now. Talk about the numbers he's putting up at the moment. Who is the NL MVP right at this moment angle? Tell me, Digame, who is it, Angel? Who is it right now? You don't want me to go Sam Kinison on you from back to school. Tell me, who is it?
It's your Yankee.
No. In the NL, in the National League.
National League.
Yeah.
Ohtani.
Exactly. And again, that's my whole point. People will sit there and make the argument, well, he's not pitching this year, and that's what you paid him to pitch, i.e. your friggin' hypothetical. Who cares? His WAR is ridiculous. His wins above replacement. Look at the numbers he's putting up. If you want to make a case for maybe Harper, maybe you can make a case for Harper. Now, going back to your hypothetical, what if Ohtani, for the next 5 years, is pitching and DHing, he will win it every single solitary year. I don't see how he doesn't. I really don't. That's what makes it so unique, what he is doing right now.
Right.
It's just something we've never seen anything like this. He is clear. If you look at the best odds, he's at minus 290. Harper's at plus 600. So if Ohtani misses the next 30 games, Harper's numbers are going to probably go down to probably, if he is healthy and he continues to hit, he's going to be at plus 450, which means all of a sudden his odds have sharpened because Ohtani's hurt. If you get Harper down to plus 250, that's telling you all of a sudden that Ohtani, his numbers might be at, minus 110. It's not as clear as it is. But right now, minus 290, the odds makers are telling you he's running away with the division. Now, Mookie Betts, you want to throw him into the mix? But again, the injuries. And I guess the reason I bring it up is because I don't think people really fully comprehend just how great of a player Shohei Ohtani is. And the money, I had no problem saying he was worth $500 million because of what he does. I mean, he's doing what Babe Ruth used to do. And it's just unfortunate that he's not pitching this year, but I still believe he is clearing away. You want to give him 500, whatever. It's what I think. It's just my opinion.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. I feel as though when it comes to voting, they will look at him just being a DH. That's kind of my whole point.
Right. No, I would have to agree. The only reason why I was just throwing that is because, he did for not pitching, but still not getting out the yard the way he is. I mean, that's T.O. coming back to play in the Super Bowl, pretty much. It's the way at least I can kind of attribute to it. But let's make the argument to people all they want to, but he is going to come back next year and pitch, and who knows what it's going to end up being, what it's going to be like. But he is running away with it, just like Aaron Judge. And in the very end, we'll see who ends up getting the nod at the end of the year. But Joey B says, let's get it back to the real debate. Shakira versus J-Lo in halftime performances.
I mean, are we talking in their prime?
I don't know. That's a good one. But they both didn't look bad at a halftime performance 3 years ago.
Listen, they're both drop dead gorgeous. I mean,
Right.
who you kidding? I tell you right now, if
oh boy,
you're asking me Shakira or J-Lo, I'm just. You want to do breaking news on this one?
Okay. All right. Hold on.
Give me the sounder.
All right.
Go ahead. I would have no qualms about pushing Martha over the railing if I had an opportunity with Shakira or J-Lo.
And that's a big one.
And that's telling you right there. I have no qualms about telling Martha to go up near the bow, right, for the photo, and just
when she's oh boy. Well, listen,
that's me showing growth, because you know where I stand with Martha Stewart.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you're giving me the opportunity to maybe go on the Carnival cruise with Shakira or J-Lo, right? Yeah. Joey, I knew I would dumbfound and stun. This is what we do on Middays with Q.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Over. I'm not even second. Listen, I'm not, and to be honest with you, between those two, I'm not even going to lose a speck of friggin' sleep if Martha's just scurrying around looking for that life raft. Absolutely not. No, I'll throw her an apron and that'll be it.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Q just lost Shakira when he mentions Carnival Cruise to Shakira. Yeah, well, she's not coming around.
No, not at all. No, that's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes boundaries, they got to be set, my friend. They got to be set. So I put up these. They have to. Let me give you these numbers real quick before we hit the break. So I went back to Aaron Judge's numbers. Babe Ruth, 1921. His average was 378, 59 home runs. His OPS was 239. His slugging was 846. Babe Ruth in 1927 batted 356, 60 home runs, 165 ribbies. His slugging percentage was 772. His OPS was 225. And then you look at Jimmy Fox in 32. His average was 364. OBP was 469. Slugging was 749. OPS was 207, 58 home runs. I told you the pace that Judge is on, it's absurd. You look at Mickey Mantle, I believe in 61. You guys can look it up. Bonds in 2001. McGuire, the great race, McGuire and Sosa in 1998. Pretty much that's kind of where we're looking at the numbers, right? And now you're also talking 92 extra base hits. That's a number that only Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, and I think Alfonso Soriano reached in the history of the Yankees. So he's putting up utterly ridiculous numbers. Absolutely. 727-858-6650, 140 on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass, as always. We are coming at you on SR 1029 FM The Game, Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, powered by Coastal Sports Network and from our good friends over at Eye on TV. Joey D chimes in on my ex from Summers Point, New Jersey. Q again with the Yankee talk. The Yankee talk is making me sick. What if Judge gets hurt? Those numbers are not going to carry over. And as far as the Shohei Ohtani debate, I agree with Angel. Let him pitch as well as being a DH. Again, injuries though. Joey, boundaries are set. Don't mess with Q when Martha's making biscuits. No, not at all. Absolutely not. Judge put up those same numbers in the old Yankee Stadium, different configuration, outfield walls. I mean, short porch, right?
Yep.
I think Judge, it's a great question, by the way. I think Judge is going to put up numbers really in any stadium. And especially in the summertime, we know the humidity the ball carries. Imagine sticking Judge in Citizens Bank Park. I mean, come on. You blow on that ball.
Yeah.
You got to take a timeout now. Or what? I'm just saying, the ball flies out of the park. Does it not?
It sure does.
Yeah. Listen, I'll say, as far as the Yankees, if they don't get to the ALCS, and right now they're a very flawed team. They're not a very good baseball team. It'll be a huge disappointment. I did not go there, Joey. I thought about it. I did not go there. I have restraint. So you might want to edit out your little comment there. 727-858-6650. All right, we got about 20 to play with. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Keep it locked in right here on a Monday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show. Keeping us on the air. You guys out there as well. Sports Radio 1029 FM. The Game, part of the Coastal Sports Network, powered by Eye on TV.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Martha Stewart says she loves Q from Martinez & Company. He knows how to turn up the heat. Here is Angel and Q. I'm going to recharge my batteries. Martha Stewart says she loves Q from...
Yes, the throwback.
Throwback spot.
I had to dig it out.
Company. Yeah, listen, I mean, hey, but see, what you're putting me in a real bad spot here, because, like, if we took it a step further, if you were to throw, say, Selma High in that equation.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Now you're taking it a step further.
But point being,
okay,
all bets are off. That's right there. You know, the Shakiras, Penelope Cruz's, the J-Lo's, Martha. It's almost as though, you know, we dated, we broke up. I see you passing through the street. You know, am I going to sit there and say, if you see me, you know, walking down the street, and I start to cry each time we meet? I'm definitely walking on by. I'm not stopping. I'm not. If you're adding in those others, I'm sorry, I can't. And my buddies always get on me because they're like, "What is it with you and Salma? You and Salma? You and Salma?" God basically decided, let me make the perfect human being. And that is what he created.
He did. He did. She never gets into hot water. She never gets into, you never hear anything super negative about her, period.
She gets better looking as she gets older.
Sure does.
She's charming. She's gorgeous. I mean, the scene from Dusk Till Dawn, do I need to even, guys, you can Google that yourself.
Yeah, I can't play it here.
No, you can't. I mean, no. Fools rush in. So, but yeah, point being, sometimes you have to pick sides is kind of the whole point. You have to choose. You have to pick sides, right? And that's kind of where we're at with the AL and the NL MVP vote. By the way, I want to go back to, while we got a couple minutes, something that Lloyd mentioned, and I'll ask you and the guys out there, 727-858-6650, especially in the Florida neck of the woods. It's an interesting conversation. Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, and then Tua. So you've got, 2 minute warning, 2 timeouts. You got to go 80 yards and you're down by 6. Mayfield, Tua, or Lawrence? Who are you taking?
Mayfield, Tua, or Lawrence?
You're 3 quarterbacks in Florida.
It's almost, Tua's got the edge, I think, on both, on Trevor and Mayfield. He definitely has the edge over Mayfield.
Because we're talking weapons now, we're talking supporting cast, or just...
No, it's strictly just a QB. I think you would have to, you would have to
Mayfield
go.
went on the road, by the way, and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, he did. Not taking anything away. He did probably his best year in the NFL was last season with the Bucks. Okay, maybe close. I know he's
no. You know what? No. I can live with that. I was just going to pull up his.
Well, let's not forget that Dave Canales is not with the Bucks anymore. He's now head coaching the Carolina Panthers. So we're going to see now a different Baker Mayfield, because Dave Canales was the one that basically made him kind of, re-energize, re-sprout, whatever hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it, I forgot to save that too. There was a thing. Oh, I wanted to bring that up. I now forget.
By the way, you're correct. His statistically his best year was last year with Tampa, 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. Prior to that, his best season was, he threw 22 touchdowns, but 21 picks. If you went numbers to numbers, I would say 2020 with the Browns, 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. Tampa Bay's line got to do a better job. He was sacked 40 times, but clearly, statistically, you are correct. Last year was his best year, and he had the big win at home against the Eagles, and they hung around in the divisional round as well. So I feel as though there's no love for Tua. I really feel as though people look at Tua as if he's the stepchild of the stepchild of the stepchild, and he's just there.
Could it have been just, again, another hypothetical, but could it have been because of, and I don't think much of it to his fault, because obviously if your O-line is not as good, but could have been because he had the 3 concussions that they probably should have done something about. After the second one, they shouldn't have brought him back in that season.
So it's a fair point you bring up, but that's, again, on the spotters on the field, and that's on the Dolphins organization. Look, Tua played 17 games last year.
Right.
In the concussions. 2022, we were talking about this kid as an MVP. He played 13. They put him back out there. He got his bell rung again. They had to go to a veteran quarterback or a journeyman quarterback in the playoffs. Obviously, they weren't going to get the job done. And I'm trying to think, what was that kid's name? They lost that game to Buffalo. Was that Skylar Thompson? But they also lost that game by 31-34, right?
Right.
See, again, we're speaking in hypotheticals. Well, if they don't have to go to Kansas City last year and play in that horrific cold weather, which football weather, whatever, doesn't bother Kansas City. He doesn't throw for 200 yards and they lose 26-7. The offense did absolutely nothing. They got Raheem Mostert back for that game, but they only ran the ball 18 times for 76 yards. I mean, that game was 16-7 going into the locker room. They were well within striking distance of that game. They just couldn't run the ball. Tua couldn't make plays. And again, you're going against Kansas City at home. So I can't fully fault him 100%.
Right.
I can't. I just can't. That's a good comment from Joey there, which is Angel, how brutal some of the early season Buck games at Raymond James Stadium, 2 hot in the sun, afternoon early start, right?
Yep. So the best way I can put it
1 o'clock games. 1 o'clock games.
Oh yeah. Listen, there nowhere in America can you get what I call a reverse tan. And what I mean by that is you're staring down at the field and it's a concrete bowl that's around you. The sun reflects off that concrete and basically you can feel your back singeing to the point where it starts to creep around to your chest and your body's just ready to go poof, right into flames. So you have to walk away and go down to the concourse level to cool off a little bit and then come back to your seats, because the higher you go up to Raymond James Stadium, the hotter it becomes. So it's better and when Eagles fans love my team, I really do love my team. But when Nick Foles had just won the Super Bowl and I had moved down here, the Eagles come into town, Eagles fans come into town, the stuff that they wore on the front of the shirts, which I'm not even going to repeat because it was like, why? Why must you do this? Why do you come down to Tampa with such ridiculous nonsense? Just enjoy the place. But as I told the Eagle fans who are in the stands, well, listen, you guys might want to be here until about 7 minutes left in the first. Then go down and cool yourselves off and then come back. What I got in reply was, are you from Philly? Yes. Originally from, just moved down here. Shut the F up because you don't know what they're talking about. They did not make it to the half. Why? Because they figured they consume more beer to try to cool down, and the sun won.
And wearing dark colors is never a good idea. That is what we say is a no-no. Remember,
right?
The sun is your friend.
It sure is.
He's not your best friend.
Yeah. But no, it is. To answer your question, Joey B, if you're going to come down here, don't get me wrong. November, December, we're finally back down to like the 80s around that time. And then that's the one thing I used to get jealous of when I lived out in Philadelphia was like, I would see like, here it is close to Christmas and you're watching a Bucks game because, it's the televised game up north and people are in t-shirts and shorts. Like, are you freaking kidding me? I got on parkas, scarves, and the whole 9 yards, but no, early games, especially even during August when they have the fans that come out and stuff like that, but it is ungodly hot at Ray J.
Yeah. And listen, you get those. I mean, Miami, you're dripping wet. Jacksonville, you're dripping wet. Like Kansas City. Remember St. Louis back in the day on the old Busch Stadium on the turf? The old vet. It's like 100-something degrees. I mean, it's just going down to Dallas. Remember when the Eagles, I think it was a 2001 season, the pickle juice game, Deuce Staley drank the pickle juice at the half and ran for 200 yards. 2001 because of the heat and humidity. Yeah, you can't. I never understood how getting drunk in 100 degrees. I mean, granted, you have a couple pops, you're on the beach, you can go cool off in the water, right? But you're out there for 3-4 hours or even longer tailgating. That's just. Well, I really can't talk because I am not really a drinker. I'm just not. Once in a while. But I do remember my cousin took me to, and this was many years ago, a Mets and Phillies game, and Roy Halladay was pitching that day. And I'll never forget, we also took my younger cousin, I think she was only like 20 or 21, and before we left, my father looked at me and my cousin, and he's like, listen, I don't want her driving home.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want her driving you two. It was probably 90 degrees that day, and I just had a couple beers. Met a couple college, nice people, and we hung out, and you know how I am. I was engaged. And let's just say all I remember was the first pitch. That was it. But adding in 90-degree temperature in friggin' July at a 105 first pitch, never a good thing, right? That's why you got to put the sunscreen. Do you know they canceled the Atlantic City Air Show? Did I tell you that? Did we talk about that last week?
See.
Yeah, one of the big acts blew out because I would just sit on the deck,
right,
and just watch the Jets. They do their practice flyovers.
So they're better in the air than they are in the field?
Yeah. Oh, I just
see, huh?
New York Jets.
Yeah.
Aha,
Aha.
aha.
Exactly.
I was. What was I watching? It wasn't Coming to America that I was watching. I was Trading Places the other day. I finished Killing Eve. Done. I watched Fool Me Once. Done. I watched The Beekeeper with Jason. The martial arts guy. Statham.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, from The Expendables. Not bad. But I have to I have 2 fights coming up this weekend. But I believe this Thursday, the 18th, new Cobra Kai season comes out.
Oh, yeah?
I'm very excited about that. Yes, The Beekeeper.
What's
it was
that?
Cheesy. It was cheesy. It had its moments, but I like those kind of cheesy action movies, man. I'm all about that.
Netflix, I got to reach out to Netflix because I'm constantly dropping shows about there. But there's the new one with, it's only 6 episodes, and The Beekeeper, good flick. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
But there's the new one with Sofia Vergara, where she is the cheesy moments are entertaining.
Oh, you're talking about Gabrielle.
Yeah. So now, because you remember, it's for those who grew up in our era. You had normally, if they would launch a series or a season, what they do is the first 3 would get launched because the Nielsen ratings would show if it was good enough to bring back or not. And then they would release the next 6, and then the full season would come back the next year. So Netflix only released 6 episodes, which is like a season. As they're trying to figure out what this thing is, it's actually not bad. The only weird thing about it is I know they had to put the caked on makeup on Sofia Vergara because they had to make it look like very 70-ish. But that poor woman, I'd hate
Griselda. I'm sorry, not Gabriella. Griselda. Pardon me, Griselda.
Yeah,
she was fantastic.
I liked it.
No, by the way, no, Joey, we can't end the show with that. No, 3.5 on your chart. No, it was.
I go 1.16.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I mean, it's cute movie. But yeah, I wasn't. I guess that's what you get. That's one of the reasons that the police chief, Ronnie Cox, who was in the first and the second,
right?
They asked him, "How come you weren't in the third?" So the third apparently took like 7 years to make. And then you know why, because it was horrible. So I guess his answer was the script. Now I'll do you a little trivia right here.
Right.
So Ronnie Cox, what's so funny? Why?
Because he keeps on an angle. For those who don't know, yeah.
But because it was just, it's a bad grading system. Joey, your grading system is friggin' flawed, right? You're not grading on a curve here. Ronnie Cox was in the movie Deliverance.
Right.
And he's the one in the very beginning when the canoe went over. It's a great movie. Ned Beatty, Burt Reynolds. 1970, 71, 72, Backwoods, right?
Yeah.
Squeal Like a Pig. It's a classic. John Voight. It's a freaking classic. Who, by the way, I was watching him the other night in Heat. So anyway, Ronnie Cox, if you watch Deliverance, he was the guy when the canoe went over and his arm was all tangled up. And but yeah, that was 1972. Turns out he was also in RoboCop too. He was also in that other movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where like one of those when he thought he was leading another life. Oh, what the hell was that movie? When they, put the thing in his brain and his head.
Right.
Oh my God. Come on, man. What the hell is that friggin' movie that he was in? I mean, I don't need characters, Joey. I need a friggin' name of a movie. Come on, man. Step up for me. What was the movie? Sharon Stone was in it. A very young Sharon Stone.
Oh, is that? Oh, Jesus Christ. Where it was futuristic?
Yes. Not The Running Man. Not Commando. Not Predator.
No.
Not Twins.
No. Even though that was a good one. What was that crap?
And they were trying to like suck the air out of people. Oh,
yeah.
This is going to totally bother me, man.
The lady had a third upper part?
Third eye. Yeah, sure. No pun intended. What was that friggin' movie called?
Oh, and it's on the tip of my stinking tongue.
Total Recall.
There you go. Yes. Yeah.
Not Joey, day late and a dollar short, brother. But yes, Total Recall. He was also, I think he might have been in that too. I'm not sure. But in any event, not a fan of. No, Ronnie Cox. I'd have to check it out. I don't know. He's in one of those goofy
By the
movies.
way, have you watched, which isn't actually bad, the one with Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings on Netflix?
No, I haven't watched that. No, instead I for some reason I felt like I needed something light to watch because of all the nonsense that's going on in the world. So I watched the new Zac Efron flick with oh
All right.
oh my God, what's her name? I know I'm horrible today. What the hell is that movie with
I've seen the previews, but I haven't watched it. I think I put it on the list.
Nicole Kidman.
There
A
you go.
Family Affair.
Yeah.
He was funny in the movie Baywatch. I like that movie Baywatch because I like The Rock.
Yeah, it was good. Joey B.
I know, man. Sometimes you have to watch something that's light where you don't need to think. Time out. I'm not flipping on friggin' Hallmark, right?
Yeah.
Cheerleader moms or, Kill the Cheerleaders or Soccer Moms with a Vengeance or Lifetime Channel. It was just friggin' Zac Efron. I mean, sometimes I'm just too lazy. I don't want to change the channel. I can't sit there and say I don't want to get up and change the channel.
Yeah. No, but there was another one too. Oh, that's like, and I'm pretty sure everybody's seen Hoarders when it was on, I think.
Yeah, sure.
It was.
Yeah.
Netflix,
Please save me. Something's falling on me. Yeah.
Yeah. So Netflix took like the best 6 that was like current. Is it the third one in? So whoops. Shakira watches Zac Efron movies and J-Lo too. Come on. He's got a good point there. But for Hoarders, is it the third one? The one with the guy, there's a gentleman, he's older and his daughter lives there. And she's it's kind of screwed up because he has a really good attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the hoarding. He knows it got out of control. And there was the one before that. It was a son, I think, and the mom. And the son was the one. She had a property and a half, and he just filled it with stuff. But there was one person in particular.
I mean, really, seriously, can we close it out on a Monday? My goodness, jeez. Oh my God. Go ahead. Finish your Hoarder thought. Go ahead.
So she, the one that's in there, I don't know what her thing is. There's one lady, but a tribute to whatever's going on with her and the hoarding. I think I got through. Maybe Debbie and I got through probably the first 5 minutes of it, and then we had to just move on to the next one because it was almost like, what the hell are you thinking? Type deal.
It's probably how the listening audience feels the last 5 minutes of the show. But they've done a fantastic job.
They sure have.
Locked in. All right, so we do have to start wrapping up on this Monday. Don't forget, we'll be on demand. We'll be on the YouTube channel, Broad Street South, Rich Q on Q, also on CSN Florida on X. Excellent job by Angel. Don't forget, tomorrow, Monday to Friday, really, start your morning off with Pete Shepard Show, 7 to 10. Host Pete Shepard. Give him a follow on X as well. Angel Martinez and Company from 10 to 12. And then myself, Middays with Q, 12 to 2. Later on in the week, a little more baseball. Steve Gardner from USA Today. We're going to see if we can squeeze in Costco and a little college football. I want to start looking at some of these win totals. Got some fighters coming on as well. And Joey, we appreciate that, my friend. We appreciate you tuning in, and we always enjoy the comments and the laughs as well.
By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
Before we get your last show, you too. Appreciate everybody who tuned in today. We thank you, especially Joey B. Joey B's been around for the longest now, and I really appreciate Joey B. And I hope to get back out to Colorado so we can hang out and drink a cold one. Crap, I just lost my train of thought.
This is just brutal. I'm closing out. I got a rhythm, and all of a sudden, this guy just steps right on my foot. I mean, I'm drowning over here, right? What the hell is going on with you?
I had it on the tip of my tongue, and now I freaking lost it.
You can text it to me. We can talk about it tomorrow. What I was going to say is we learned a lot today. We learned that the sun is your friend, not your best friend. We learned if, God forbid, I ever go on a cruise with another person and they come back, we know exactly what happened.
Exactly.
And we also know that our rating system when it comes to J-Lo, Shakira is flawed. And we also learned that once in a while I will flip on the tube and I will watch Zac Efron movies. So, all right, listen, we do have to start wrapping it up. Always appreciate our very good friends over at Ion TB for all your late breaking news, weather source, traffic updates. Check them out online, Ion TB. As Angel mentioned, download the app. Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. You can now get us online, sr1029thegame.com. We are powered by Coastal Sports Network. Lloyd Vance jumped on. We always appreciate the big guy talking a little NFL. You'll catch him tonight at 8. Check out the program grid, the runner vocation, Marshall Time coming up, Pete Shepard coming up, Martinez and Company, and then, of course, Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, my show as well. You got the whole program grid. We got a couple more shows that we are working on as well, part of the Coastal Sports Network. And with that, Angel, as always, I appreciate you keeping us locked in and on the air. Great stuff with the comments and the engagement. Awesome stuff. Keep the eyeballs coming on X as we'll continue to retweet this. Share it. Tell your friends. We always love you guys chiming in, having a lot of fun with Middays with Q, 12 to 2. Everyone have a wonderful, exceptional Sports Monday. Stay cool out there if it's hot wherever you are. But as always, be safe, be sound. I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Oh, it'll go up.